Hey, Possum, Full Possum Speed Shop. Uh, we got a small job today. It gives me an opportunity to bring you in and talk to you and show you the car a little bit more and show you how I took care of this problem. This is something that everybody's going to face if you mess with the car very often. Sooner or later, you're going to get a broken wheel stud or a messed up wheel stud, and you're going to have to change it. Ideally, if the axle's out of the car, axle's out of the rear end, you can press them in, and that's always the best way to install a wheel stud is push it in instead of trying to pull it in. Unfortunately, you don't always have the luxury of that axle being out, and it's just not worth the hassle of taking the axle out to change a wheel stud when it's just one wheel stud. Or even if it's all on this car, it's got 5 studs. If it's all 5 of them, it's just easy to pull them in, and a lot of people do it the wrong way. If you've got a wheel stud in there and you buy an open-ended lug nut, turn around and put it on there and put an impact hammer on it, well, you're just doing yourself an injustice. They make tools to help you install those things. It's called a wheel stud installer, and I'll show you what that is and how it works. Lots of ways to mess up a wheel stud. This one was destroyed by a lug nut that was too short and run in and mushroomed the end of the stud out. Over tightening, I can't tell you how many times I've worked on a car, went to pull the wheel off and the lug nuts were just way too tight. Best way to tighten a lug nut is with a torque wrench. Every impact I own, even these little 3/8 battery powered impacts, will wring them lug nuts off. They way over torque them. Half 20 lug nut, I think torque specs on it, recommended torque spec on it is between 90 and 120, and I never tighten them to 120. Usually around 90 foot-pounds, 100 foot-pounds. So let me bring you in, I'll show you this tool, and we'll talk a little bit about how I use it and why I use it and stuff like that. So let me bring you over here and show you these tools. So these come from Matco. I got them off the tool truck at work. I'm sure everybody makes them, and you can buy them cheaper. And these were a little more pricey just because they come from off a tool truck. I'm not sure that it's any better a tool. It's just what I had available to me when I was looking to purchase one of them. All this tool is a bearing. Goes up against the flat side of the axle, and then it's machined out to receive a lug nut. So you put it in there, push your wheel stud through the back of your axle, slide the bearing up on it, and then with the torque wrench, tighten it down until it seats. This is the reason right here that I'm having to do this, because these lug nuts are too short for what we're using them for, and it's mushroomed the end of the lug nut off and destroyed the end of it. So there's that. That's what's caused my problem. And I went and got these dormant wheel studs to replace them. To install these things, I always use a torque wrench, and it's just better for the stud. You set it for the torque spec on the half. You set it for the torque spec on a wheel stud. I set this torque wrench here to 100 foot-pounds and run it up, and it was seated before it ever reached 100 foot-pounds, I think around 90. So, I mean, not a class on changing wheels, but anytime I pull a wheel off, this stuff's all fairly new, so it doesn't have any road grime, but if you've got corrosion and stuff always clean up the back of your wheel and the face of your axle to make sure you get a good level mating area on it. And set your torque wrench up, install your wheel stud tool, and torque it down. I have several different torque wrenches, and I mean this has nothing to do with wheel studs, but if you're using a torque wrench to torque wheels and you're doing a lot of it, and I mean more than just one or two here and there, buy yourself a cheaper torque wrench, because you don't want to be using a $500 wrench on a lug nut over and over and over again. It'll just mess your torque wrench up, and you'd have to have it rebuilt by everything else like that. You can pick these little torque wrenches here up. This one comes from Advance. It's an Amp Pro, and it's just a great torque wrench for doing wheels, because I can't tell you how many thousands or tens of thousands of lug nuts we've tightened with this cheap lug wrench, and it's got a lifetime guarantee. So when it does give up or it loses its where it's not calibrated, loses its calibration or something like that, you just take it down there and get a new one. Another thing you want to do is whenever you're using a torque wrench, especially one that you're got to depend on or count on the torque being right, once you're done with the torque wrench, always zero it back out, and then just help it stay calibrated, keeps everything in good working order. Never use a torque wrench to loosen a bolt. A lot of people grab them because they're so long to loosen a tight bolt. That's just not the way to do it. It messes your torque wrench up. When it pops or something, it'll mess them up. So there's the setup on the wheel. If you want to see how you do it, you just when you put your wheel stud in the back of it, you just slide that bearing up on there, face the axle, and then screw your lug nut in. And it's that simple. I use this little 3/8 impact wrench. I set it for 100 foot-pounds, and I think about 90 foot-pounds that thing was already seated, and I didn't have to fool with it no more. That's how that works. Easy peasy. I had wheel studs on both sides I needed to replace, so I took both wheels off. It's a posi unit. So if I'd have left one wheel on, I could have used that to hold the axle. But since I had them both off, I'm going to show you what I did to hold it still so I could torque and tighten it. I just stuck a 2x4 in there like that. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but I don't see where it come anywhere close to causing any harm to anything. So there's that. Alright, so that's what we did tonight. We fixed the wheel studs. Tools I was talking about, you can buy anywhere. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't go buy a high-dollar torque wrench to torque wheels. I'd get something decent and something with a warranty, because it'll absolutely destroy a torque wrench torquing wheels all the time. The little bearings, little wheel stud installers, everybody's got them. You can buy them on the internet. Like I said, I'm sure you can get them for $10, maybe $5. You don't have to go buy them off a tool truck like my dummy did. And they work really well, and they'll help you install that stud without having to take that axle out, without destroying the stud putting it in. And that's where you go. The last thing you want to do, I was guilty myself for years of using just a open face lug nut, turn around backwards in an impact, and it's just like laziness, I suppose. It's not the way to do it. If you like what you've seen here today, like, share, subscribe. Do me a favor, subscribe. I need all the help subscribers as I can get. and it is what it is. We appreciate you watching the channel and supporting us, and we absolutely will read every comment and try to respond, and we're interested in you, what you think, and how we can make this thing better. Again, we appreciate your time to sit and watch us, and we'll see you next time.